See where I put things I create at. Not for the Weaker Sex by David J. Rowbottom. Volume 14. How to Secure Long-Term Oral Sex, a Taste Sensation. A recent study has linked diet to bodily fluid flavor. Dr. Edvard Schultz from the University of Negroman in East Silesia has released an extensively researched paper on the subject. He posited that after a particular dietary intake, the mixing of the compound and the calendaring, that is, the spreading it in sheets, the great roll of sperm and semen that is to be made into liquid gold is sent to the bodily pressman. Here it is hung in the organ, and 15 or 20 particles of it are drawn between the plates of the body. The bottom plate is grooved its whole length, so that when the upper platen is let down, the plain sheet of explosive material is forced into the grooves and the corrugations are formed. While in that position, steam is let into the upper and lower platens, and the flavor is cured. After it has been in there the proper time, cold water is flushed into the press, and the upper platen being raised is ready to come out. A simple device for loosening the expulsive material from the grooves into which it has been forced is a long flesh rod, with a grip on one side like an auger handle, which, being introduced under the edge and twisted, allows the air to enter with it and releases it from the mold. Writer's note. Okay, I'm assuming she must be gone. Only a man desperate for his sperm to be so tasty that his partner has to be ripped away from the art of filleting would read all that. There is no report or study, or Dr. Edvard Schultz or University of Negroman in East Silesia, or even a place called Negromen. Everything written above is complete and utter bollocks. It was simply a ruse to make those with no interest in making semen into a delicious snack skip this chapter. So, here's the plan. If you want your partner to delight in the flavors of your issuance, it makes sense that you should take a few steps to make the whole experience one of delight and pleasure, rather than one of horror and deep sadness. Here are a few tips that will make her slurp, slobber, and crave rather than gag, spit, and dribble. Writer's note. I think they were a folk trio from the 70s. Have good hygiene. Make sure that everything you might want involved in the job of blowing is clean. Use a good hypoallergenic non-perfume soap and rinse the areas well. Be sure to dry thoroughly, but not so thoroughly that you cause rashing, and always use a tried and trusted towel. Too stinky, and you will undo all your hard work, but too new, and you risk leaving little bobbles of fluffy towel randomly scattered around your fun zone. These, although practically naked to the human eye, can very quickly end and deter future expeditions. Writer's note, beware. The list of small, slightly chewy things that you could find while nuzzling in another human's groinal area is short, but the lovely fluffy bits from a brand new towel probably isn't the first thing that would pop into someone's mind at such a moment. Once the required areas have been cleaned and dried, writer's note. Never forget to do your anus. An enema is good, if a little time heavy, but you must at least give it some time. When you think you've cleaned it enough, dab it with a bit of loo roll to check. Use this rhyme as a guide. If they're still brown, go back down. It is best to settle down on your favorite chair with your tackle out and watch a bit of TV while it airs naturally. Half a Simpsons episode should do it. Do not, and I cannot stress this enough, do not deodorize the region in any way. No musky roll-ons. No manly-sounding sprays. No sprinkling of aftershave. And definitely no English Blossom talcum powder, writer's note. Other talcum powders are available, but they are all shit if you want your southern regions to be nuzzled. This stuff can, during particularly sweaty moments, clump and form balls of gooey sludge that will explode into a fine mist of sherbet dust, with flavors ranging from lavender to asbestos, which will instantly guarantee the death knell of the current, and all further partner forays into the dark recesses of your crotch. Writer's note. I just did a little research on talc and discovered that before the 1970s, talcum powder was often contaminated with asbestos fibers. So if you've any tins of Kashmir bouquet or Menon for men lying around, could I suggest you contact your local council immediately for safe disposal advice rather than sprinkling it lavishly all over your tackle. I continued my research to find out what is in modern-day talcum powder. Talc is a mineral composed of hydrated magnesium silicate, the chemical formula of which is H2Meg3SiO34 or Meg3SO10, OH2. Phew, that makes me feel much safer. Warning: only use licensed waste disposal companies when destroying your pre-1970 talcum powder collection. When it comes to odeurs de la grande, it's always best to let nature take its course. This will go a long way to securing you long-term oral sex. Have bad hygiene. Now, when I say bad hygiene, I don't mean for you to go out of your way to be smelly and abhorrent. Rubbing week-old fish and perfectly fresh sprouts onto your downtown district will attract a very particular kind of private party animal. And while it may be fun at the time, there will come a moment, and I can't stress this enough, when they raise their head up and aim a smacker at your lips. This is tricky enough to negotiate when you have delivered a single portion pack of your gloop and watched closely as she swallowed every drop with glee. But ducking and diving like a boxer, avoiding a well-placed jab, is not conducive to a long and healthy relationship. By bad hygiene, I mean let your pheromones go nuts, quite literally. Pheromones are there for a reason, and they work. So let that sector sweat a little. Halve the number of times a day you lift your penis up from your balls and your sweaty testicles up from your moist perineum. Writer's note: the perineum is the tiny patch of sensitive skin between your genitals, vaginal opening or scrotum, and anus. If you wear boxer shorts, you can stand with your legs apart and wiggle your hips in the same way you would if you were hula hooping and feel the pheromone-filled sweat drying. Don't avoid sitting with your legs together. In fact, do it more frequently, allowing your balls to smush together hydraulically as one rises above the other. Writer's note: statistically, the right testicle sits higher and the left is shyer, but there's nothing wrong with positioning them onto different hemispheres. Be careful to not squeeze your legs together too quickly, or you may suffer conker balls, a condition where, due to a lack of time, or the refusal of the testicle itself, they clang together in an eye-watering display of bollock chicken, where neither testicle gives way. This results in at least a day's worth of cupping them gently, no matter what company you are keeping, and exhaling while closing your eyes. Finally, have a little check during each day by prodding your fingers around certain areas and then sniffing them. If they don't make you want to vomit, then you're on your way to pheromone heaven. And don't be shy about where you perform this act. Remember that the people disgusted by your actions are not getting oral sex, but the ones who are will give you a knowing little nod. It's a bit like a secret club with a special handshake, where only the ones who know. I wouldn't go as far as to suggest you should ask another pant-delving finger sniffer to compare odors, but I wouldn't entirely dismiss it either. Long friendships have been built on lesser things than that, as has the securement of long-term oral sex. Work on your timing. Timing is massively important, which is why it is essential to plunge and sniff regularly throughout the day. Too early in the morning shower may leave you too clean, but too late, and the game of five-a-side with the lads, followed by no shower, may push you over the edge into fish market territory. The best rule of thumb is to use your own senses. If you smell your fingers and are pleasantly surprised and a little turned on, then that is your benchmark. It should then be your aim to widen that window. The longer you can keep that odor each day, the better the chances of securing long-term oral sex. Work on your self-control. Ever since the first blob of blood diverted itself from brain to boner, man has been teasing himself. Whether it was to the Marshall Ward J.D. Williams catalogue, your dad's secret stash of Hustler and Penthouse, your imagination and your own version of Mrs. Blythe, or today's plethora of freely available and marvellously categorized porn, he has been rubbing and tugging and stroking and fiddling himself to near ejaculation from his first erection to his last. And this is why it is such a surprise to so many that the addition of a vessel, be it hand or hole, not connected to the penis by other bodily parts, can result in an ejaculation over which the owner of the tackle in question has absolutely no control. This may seem an insurmountable problem, but it is very easily, if not very quickly, solved. Over time, simply walk away from any and all near ejaculation moments. Bring yourself to a near climax and then stop. Walk away and get on with your day. The next time your penis taps you on the shoulder and demands service, simply oblige, assuming your surroundings are conducive to such open self-abuse. And the stop. Again, this is the beginning of you taking back control from your sexual organs. It's a bit like playing guitar. If at the start of your musical journey you allow your fingers to be in charge of what you do, then you will find that the sounds emanating from your cheap Stratocaster copy will be similar to those you would hear if you threw it down the stairs. The sooner your brain takes control and systematically and methodically works out how to tell your fingers what to do, where and when, the sooner you will be jamming along to YouTube backing tracks all alone, whether in your spare room or more alone, under your headphones, surrounded by family and friends who really couldn't give a shit. Take back the control your penis has over your life and things will get better. You say when you get hard. You say when to ooze slightly. You say when to throb. And when not to. You say when you're ready to come. Once you own the time and place of your orgasm, she will try things even she didn't think she would do to break you. Once she does those things and you really like them, then it is time to tell your sexual organs to do what they do best and come, come, come. She will be so proud of her newfound power that she will do that thing you love again and again and again, hence securing long-term oral sex. Don't overgroom. The easiest thing to do is to ask her what she likes. The answer will be one of two. Take it all off or leave it alone. Never half trim, as this transforms your lovely, bouncy trampoline for the face hairs into a pit of spikes which pierce and poke on every downward nod, turning her chin into a red, blotchy mess. This will deter further exploration and will not secure long-term oral sex. Eat what she eats. Even if science doesn't entirely back up the dream that you taste of what you eat, I assure you it is a sacrifice worth making. Eat the food she loves, and there's a very good chance your fluids will reflect her favorite flavors. If you do this diligently and totally at the start of the relationship, you can start to take liberties later on, as she will assume that your sperm is always delicious, and put a spunky batch down to a night out with the lads, or that dodgy sushi she tried to make, and then forced you to eat. Start subtly. Replace her 90% dark chocolate with 80%. Then go to 70%. Then a dark milk hybrid. Before you know it, you'll be eating Milky Bars and Orangeros every day, and she won't notice. A slow and gradual shift from a Thai green curry should have you noshing an original curry pot noodle in no time. Olive spread to Lurpak, monkfish to beer battered cod, feta and kale loaded sweet potato to fat-laden crispy roasties. These and many more are achievable over time. But beware. Do not try them all at once. One change at a time. Keep a diary of each tiny menu shift, and the moment she rises from your southern borders, smacking her lips like she's just tasted slug residue in your salt bowl, you must check your notes, cross-reference them with your spreadsheet, and revert immediately to the previous menu option. Lace the drink. Once you get efficient at these minor menu shifts, and with dedication you will, you can really take it to the next level. The dream of altering her taste buds so much that she actually wants a pot noodle, because the taste of your sperm made her crave one, is in the long run achievable, but it's best to start smaller. Find her favorite painkiller, you know, the one she uses to counteract your inability to make a decent hot water bottle during her monthly bout with reality, and start popping those pills about a week before. Writer's note. This will mean you will have to track her wonky week very carefully, but once again, if done properly, it will be worth it. You will benefit in a couple of ways as a result. You will be fully aware of when the cyclone hits, and gain some extra love for being so understanding as to track her time of the month. You will also be secreting her favorite painkiller into her system via your seed, giving her relief from her suffering and making her say things like, "You know, I don't actually feel that bad this month. I don't suppose you fancy a little gobble, do you?" Whereupon you will have secured long-term oral sex. Could the reverse be true? After many years being told that the job of blowing can be a tiring, neck-aching, jaw-busting chore filled with male utterances such as, "Don't stop. Keep doing it like that. I'm nearly there," it could be time to redress the balance. We know that we are not perfect, and the polite thing to do under such circumstances would be to tap your partner lightly on the head, shoulder, knees, or toes. Writer's note. Depends how you've ended up and what song you're singing, and explain that the dog barked, putting you off, therefore a small rest can be taken while you restock the fire. But what we have to do is equally hard and in some cases much messier. No matter how much of a physical drain the art of fellation can be, it only really becomes a drinking game for the final 5 seconds or so. However, the art of lingering around, near to, and sometimes in, the Vagina has something of an oral intravenous feel, in so much as, once we have secured moisture, we have to deal with a more or less constant seepage of fluids. And God help us if we're skilled enough to cause gushing, squirting, and ejaculation. Writer's note. I think this is also the name of a gentleman's outfitters on Savile Row. So come on, girls. Why not try to give us some of the flavors we crave? If your food juice tasted of Dolly mixtures and quavers, you'd have to prise us off with the same amount of force required when removing one of those suction cups you use when you fit a GOU-10 halogen bulb. We'll even buy you a blender to make things easy for you. Volume 14.1. The Hidden Chapter. How to stop your woman from cuddling after sexual activities. I'm not a sex guru or a love god. I've had my fair share of after-filth cuddles. I've suffered from a limp biscuit, flagpole failure, blood loss at the moment of truth, mind interference. Writer's note. That moment when your brain starts to talk to you at the worst moment and your interest, like your erection, ebbs away. External interference. Writer's note. When the dog walks over your head and settles her vulva near an eyeball. Everybody has had those moments. If someone says they haven't, they are lying. Writer's note. Unless they have had exactly one sexual encounter, and that was a success. Men and women, and all points in between, have suffered heartbreaking failures. They generally have one of 3 reasons. Too drunk, duty-bound to perform, just not that excited. Let's analyze these. Too drunk. Alcohol loves a bit of sexual dysfunction. It will help you get horny. Oh yes, there is no problem there. It loves turning you into a randy little bugger. It also, however, thrives on the ability to decrease your sexual stimulation. It'll dry up a vagina quicker than a Veleda mop and cause your old chap to flop about like a lone sock in a dryer. It'll send you to sleep at the most inappropriate times and cause your brain, which is the most powerful of the sexual tools, to desert you and try to find something more interesting to do. Add being drunk to the other 2 and you've as much chance of orgasming as you have of time-travelling back to 1789 and opening a cake shop just across the road from the Bastille. Duty-bound to perform. This is possibly the worst of the lot. Having to do something when you really don't want to is not easy at the best of times. Going to see the in-laws is annoying but doesn't require you to get wet enough to be rogered by another human with only self-gratification on their mind. Writer's note. If it does, get new in-laws. Eating a dreadful meal prepared by someone whose feelings you care about is tricky to negotiate, but it pales into insignificance if you're expected to rouse a flaccid penis which has clocked off for the day. One can be solved with lubricant, the other would require something as yet not invented. Writer's note. I know there are pills for this kind of thing, but isn't that bordering on self-rape? Flaccid away. New from JLM. Feel duty-bound to have sex with someone against your will? Try new Flaccid away. The discreet way to keep your penis from drooping. Due to advertising indecency laws governing this region, the human penis has been replaced with a wrist. If you are in a relationship where one person is demanding sexual activity from you, and it is making you feel anything from uncomfortable to abused, then there is something wrong. If a partnership cannot handle one person telling the other the honest truth about something, then the partnership is one-sided and unfair. Seek professional help, or remove yourself from the situation as best you can. Be like Arthur and Enid as often as possible. Just not that excited. This one is awkward but not insurmountable for a human with a vocabulary, a brain, and a degree of empathy. If you find yourself in a situation where you are expected to do certain things, but your brain has had a quiet word with you and told you that it is not a good idea, then the very best policy is honesty. That doesn't mean brutal honesty. Honesty has degrees. Being understanding while telling someone something they don't want to hear will tell you a lot about the other person. If the sentence, "I'm sorry, but I've got myself into an awkward space and I don't feel comfortable doing this," gets any other response than a disappointed, "I understand," then you're probably not meant to be together. If the person you are honest with cannot take it and some can't, then at least you know you have been honest with yourself. If you lie, and trust me because I've been there, then you will feel guilty about it forever. There is, of course, one more. Prejaculation. "Oh my God, I'm coming and we've only just started," is a sentence with two connotations. Out of the mouth of a woman, it is one of the best sentences you can hear. But if a man says it, this is misandry at its worst. It is wholly unfair. All it means is that the person in question is so turned on by you that they bypassed all the nonsense of foreplay and intercourse and charged headlong into the clean up on aisle 5 section of the night. If this happens to you, you should rejoice. You are so sexy that your chosen human cannot control their urges. Don't take the piss. Don't make anyone feel bad. Move on and try to be less sexy in future. Pace yourself. Be suggestive, followed by seductive. Be kinky, followed by sultry. And then, when you want to see it all, then you bring out the big guns, so to speak. Men have always worried about this. Cut us some slack. If you come before you want to, then lucky you. You can always come again and again and again. They're called multiple orgasms, and if you're lucky enough to have them, good on you. We require a cup of tea and a nap between them. The best cuddle repellent. The best way to stop the post-sex cuddle, assuming you want to, is to follow the advice below. To the letter. Give your partner what they want. Tire them out. Make them come hard as often as they can. If they love cunnilingus and the thought of it makes you retch, then do some research. Google is filthy and knows everything. There are devices out there that can recreate every sex act probably better than you. If you want constant blowjobs with a finger up your bum, but she feels that is beyond her pay grade, then do some research. There will be something out there for you to buy. Writer's note. If a Bluetooth bum teaser with a built-in FM radio doesn't exist, then I want to know why. What on earth are the boys in the RD department doing if they haven't pulled out all the stops to make a pocket prostate pal? Why should you both not get what you like, at least in some measure? It's supposed to be fun for fuck's sake, so compromise. If she doesn't want a threesome with the girl behind the counter at the spa, then buy a sex doll and choose what it looks like together. If he's not keen on you looking at pictures of David Tennant while he's flossing with your pubic hair, then make a deal where he can secure a phone holder to your inner thigh and watch the cricket while he munches. If this is someone you like/love/adore, then take the time to bring up the difficult subjects and see if you can find a way through each other's likes and dislikes. In short, make her squirt until she can't breathe. Swallow everything he gives you to save cleaning up. What you spend on towels, you'll save on toilet roll. Trust me, the last thing she'll want to do while she's sloshing about in a puddle of her own ejaculate is to cuddle. Hidden volume, How to Fake Your Orgasm, or The Shortest Chapter Ever. This is very easy. Don't. If you're in a proper relationship, why would you want to fake them? Faking them is a false economy and means you should automatically forego the right to complain about never having one. If your partner nibbles your ear and you writhe around pretending to have a back-arching and toe-curling release, then he's going to set his benchmark right there, at an ear nibble. And that, I'm afraid, is your fault. Make the fucker work. Grab him by the ears and grind. Stare him in the eyes and tell him that you've just had the screamer of your life and it was all his own work. There's your benchmark. It may not always be attained, but surely it's better than pretending. See where I put things I create at.